address the specific thing of the swastika, because I think that none of us are willing to bring that up, because, but I think that there is a categorical, like, night and day difference between how Germany deals with their history and how they acknowledge it and keep the history alive to know that that can never happen again, while still saying, you cannot fly swastikas, you cannot use swastikas in this country, you cannot deny the Holocaust. Because this history is important, we need to acknowledge it and own this, but we can't let this become us again. We can't cloak ourselves in these same things. So I think that that's a very interesting example just because it is categorically not how we in America have dealt with it.
Well, and the concerning thing is that in Germany, white supremacists, neo-Nazis used the Confederate, the American Confederate.
Yeah. In case there were any questions. Right.
Yeah.
Because of the language barrier.
There's also the aspect that is a poll released this week that said that in terms of the overall populace of the U.S., they believe that 69 to 75% of black people see the flag as a symbol of racism. And so when white artists want to use it, I think you have to ask yourself, who are you willing to hurt by using this symbol?
What folks you use?
I think that a real danger in framing this as a freedom of expression or freedom of artistic expression or speech is that, you know, as white people, we consistently use that as a knee-jerk reaction when we are accused of not acknowledging that our privilege is based on the oppression of people. And I have a real problem with the unwillingness in the North, the South, the West, the Mid, everywhere in the United States of white people being so fragile that they can't listen to black people, other white people, people of color saying, you're able to do this because you're white. It doesn't matter if you grew up poor, it doesn't matter if you're queer, it doesn't matter if you're trans. If you're white, you have privileges that people of color do not have, and you have them because of their oppression. If you are walking down the street and you see a black male and you clutch your keys tighter, then you are experiencing the effects of racism in your life. It's undeniable. I would challenge any white person to tell me they have never felt something like that. They have never clutched their pearls, that they have never thought that they should go to the front of the line because and I'm going to be honest, this happened to me just last year. I was at the Brooklyn Museum looking at the civil rights photography exhibit, and I was waiting in line for food, and these three elderly African-American people were taking kind of a long time to choose their food, and I just wanted to like run up to the fridge and grab this cheesecake and pay for it, and it was going to be so quick. And I did it, and it was so fucked up that I thought that I could just go to the front of the line and do this, you know. And my boyfriend grabbed me and pulled me back, and I said, no, fuck you, like I'm trying to get where I'm going, you know. And that is a really abominable experience, that something that I did and that I have shame for. And I'm like not afraid to speak about, because I think that we have all done things like this in our lives, and we do them on a daily basis many, many times. And like this, I think, is the conversation that white people need to be having. And black people have been telling us this for decades. What I'm saying is not new. I have heard it from them. And we need to start listening to them about how we're at where we're at. Like how is it possible that we are treated so differently, you know? I just, that's all. I didn't want to say too much, but it's frustrating when white people react with fragility when they're called out about race. Even if what the person is saying is dead wrong, but to just kind of put up your hands and say like, no, that's not me, I'm not racist. It's troubling, and I would like to work on that more myself.
Just to aside, I find being black a state of being. I do not make up black. I am reminded that I'm black every day. At the Walgreens, pretty much everywhere. And I think it's until we are most humbly human and most humbly speak to one another with respect, that is not going to happen. We have this us them And it isn't. There's some horrible black people out there. I can make a list. There's some. To our communities, who these people are, and really interrogate what that means. Like, please don't ask Clarence Thomas about my rights. Yes.
Unbeknown to Sheila, I know Sheila B reasonably well. She deserves a lot of credit for bringing to Nashville a dialogue similar to what we're doing here. It just shows the power of art. That art is very powerful and symbols are very powerful. It also calls for, I think, for we who are thinking about art, looking at art, to really look at it hard. The first time I've seen Sheila's painting was when I came in tonight to this forum, thinking that this was just over the top. Well, clearly it's not over the top. It's a 2-year-old painting, as I understand, done. Three-year-old painting, done a couple of years ago, and now it's bringing about a dialogue that possibly would not exist in Nashville if it wasn't for a little joke. My observation is that we who have come through the door, and we who have talked about it, and we who have discussed Sheila B's work, and particularly the Confederate flag within the work, are really not looking at a painting. This is a total composition. When I went to the painting on my way in and looked at it, do you realize that there's a message of love in the painting? Do you know that there's a message of kindness to one another in the painting? There's a juxtaposition between the Confederate flag and different messages that the Confederate flag normally puts out. We've had a discussion here about the racism, not necessarily about art and the power of art. And it's a discussion that's really worthwhile, without question. All over our nation, we need this kind of discussion. But that's not what that painting is about. That painting is not about racism. That painting is not about hate. That painting is not about one race being better or better than another race. That painting is about love. That painting is about fun. That painting is about excitement. That painting is about an era that has passed in American society, and maybe one would say, thank God. But as far as pinups, and Sheila has done a number of pinups, I'm sorry that era has passed. I'm not sorry that the era of the Confederate flag has passed, however. So I just come with a sense that, well, I was here for a purpose, and I just don't see, or here for a reason, and I just don't see the reason why I'm here, because I find it to be a joyful, upbeat, philosophical, and happy thing.
I think I would have more respect for the painting if she had decided to hang it in a predominantly black church, and then see if she'd been brave enough to do that. I think that there's a bit of cowardice that, no, the painting itself may not be, her intent may not have been racism, but now we're talking about what gives art its inherent meaning. Is it does the artist bestow meaning, or is it the act of sharing it with the community that gives the art meaning? She decided to hang it in a venue where it would be seen by primarily white people. And the signals that they are gleaning from that painting, they're seeing what you're seeing. They're seeing happiness and something cheeky at a bygone era. And I think that that is so problematic, and that this kind of embodies the practice of whiteness silencing everything else. That no one else's opinion would matter because it wouldn't be heard, because we don't go to Acme Feed Seed. And they know that. The thing that bothers me about Confederate flag's usage in this country, it's not because it's a bad flag, it's the flippancy of the history behind the flag. There have been thousands of black men who, the last thing that they saw before they were hung was that flag waving. So when I see it on Walmart merchandise, when I see it hanging from the, someone's house or on a bumper sticker, it's kind of you telling me that you don't think it was that bad what happened to us. That's what you're saying, and that's the message that when white people see that in a place that's respected, like Acme Feed Seed, you're giving credence to that symbol and to the idea that it's okay. It's okay because we did it. And there's hardly ever any countering voice to whiteness, to saying my experience matters. And to me, this flag, it cannot be used. You're free to use the flag if you want to, and I don't want people to censor themselves, but you have to be prepared to face some very heavy questions, because it's not something just light and simple that represents fishing. And to suggest otherwise is intellectually dishonest, and you're lying by omission by doing it. And there's a reason why it's illegal in Germany to fly that flag, because they realize that horrific things have been done with it. And I think that's the problem with Americans, is that we fly that flag because we still don't understand the depth of the evil of white supremacy. So fly it all you want. We know what you're saying, and we know the messages that you're giving to each other when you place it in Acme Feed Seed. We know.
There's nothing more disrespectful to the Confederate battle flag than putting it on a woman's ass. I mean, it seems like it's an insult to the flag.
Put it on a dude in a thong. I think they'd be more insulted. I think I've seen it on people on that.
But talk a little bit more about what you're saying. I think there are some important perspectives that we really need to hear.
Well, it was also Sheila was basing it on a costume from a performance artist, and that was from Motel, who used that in her performance. And I've never seen the performance, so I don't know the context of that.
There's a
Do you think most viewers would?
I'm sorry.
Do you think most viewers would know that context
Do we talk
of the performance, or like does that imbue with different meaning or tone if you know that performance?
I don't know.
But maybe even that performance is problematic.
The performance, well, I can speak a little bit to the performance because there was a statement from Lux, but Sheila addressed pretty much everything in her statement that Lux kind of took a little bit longer to explain in her statement. I can read it if you want me to, but I really, what I gleaned from Lux's statement is that this performance is like a, kind of like a Joe Dirt sort of,
She comes out dressed up like Joe Dirt. She's got a mullet, she's
There
got
you
the
go.
mop, she's got all that. Then she strips down, she has the rebel flag. It was a play on Joe Dirt, the movie.
and it's like a white
Starring
trash
David Spade.
kind of, and she wears that bikini. And it's a performance piece, and that's what inspired Sheila to put it in the painting in the first place. That is the kind of thing that requires a docent, you know, like the use of it, that requires a docent,
That criticism is way too subtle for that symbol. You know, that putting it on a woman's ass is not a good enough insult to that flag. I think that's what, and that's, you know, I respect that that's what Sheila B's intention was, and I totally believe her, and I really appreciate her statement about it. But I think we all need to kind of like raise it to the next level and say, we need to insult that flag by taking it down.
Yes.
Or about making it more powerful.
Yeah, whatever it is.
I mean, one of my one of my graphical professors when my first book was about lynching, so I used symbol of lynching over and over and over again. But one of her first months, kind of starting to work on it, my professor looks at me and she's like, yes, this is very powerful. Are you driving the image or is the image driving you? And that is something, as an artist, one has to be very, very careful about, one has to really think about when we're thinking about what the content is and how it's contextualized and how the viewer will see it. And it's, I don't know Sheila at all, so I can't say, like, maybe she felt that one. Maybe she did. I don't feel that when I see that. I don't. So I don't feel fun or love her. I see the 1950s and my mom's from Mississippi in the 1950s, so, yeah.
Can I comment here?
I certainly agree with a fear about censorship. But even within the Bill of Rights, we have the right to free speech, but we don't have the right to yell fire and movie.
Right.
If the function of, when I put up a shot for people to see, I never really know what they're going to get from what I presented. I know what I intend, but I don't know. I'm hoping that it will inspire something positive. If the function of art is to raise consciousness in some way, the art in all of this was taking that picture down. Because before that picture was taken down, I never heard of it. And so, in terms of raising consciousness, taking that picture down did far more good in terms of prompting a dialogue, in terms of getting people to take a look at the picture and to take a look at exactly what's going on. So the art was in taking it down.
No, I agree with telling you, Bob. You know, it's you know, as I said, you know, at the very beginning, that painting teaches me a lot. You know, and you know, when I sit and look at that, you know, I think, what does that tell me about how I feel about that painting? And the taking it down was far more important to me. The dialogue that it all started was far more important to me than the painting was. Look, it's not a particularly great painting. I'm sorry, sir, but I don't look at it and feel joyful and happy. I just don't. You do. I love that. I love that you do.
The eye of the beholder.
Absolutely. And I will defend the eye of the beholder when it comes to art to the day I die. I will defend that. Absolutely, it's the eye of the beholder. It doesn't do that for me. Other paintings do, that one doesn't. But what it does do for me, is that it helps me to self-examine, like Ada was saying, it helps me to self-examine my relationship to art, and what art means, and what art does to other people. Because art does affect people, that's what it does. That's what it's supposed to do. It makes you very, very happy and joyful to look at it, but you're a very different person than me, who's sitting here, who has a different relationship to those symbols. And I think we need to be respectful of that.
If I could just jump in too, I want
Idea.
sorry. That was great what you said, and it was like an epiphany for me because I see the painting in its ironic light, and I think, you know, I may have been the only person in town who was really upset with the song "I'm a Redneck Woman," because like, why would you say that? Why would you be happy? Why would you be proud of being a redneck woman? It's just like, I didn't get it, and I know the writer, and I know the performer, and I still don't get it. Why would you do that? And I think, thank you, the context about being cheeky in the Acme place. Of course, it's on 2nd Avenue or down by the honky tonks, and it's it's that whole thing. And I didn't put it in the context. I mean, if you know Marshall Duchamp in the toilet, in the art gallery, what that did in terms of understanding context and art, which was like, you know, the ultimate of that. And I think this point is very good. I think it's a very valid point that it is context, and it does a disservice to the whole Nashville thing by continuing to have that. So, it was, thank you. So that was great.
You know, I want to thank Erica, wherever she is, for her comments there, because she's absolutely 100% right. For me, you know, I've been in that situation, full of those thoughts, and I'm glad that somebody slaps me in the face and says, hey, you used to think differently about that. You know, so I thank Erica for bringing that up to me. Thank you for that, Erica. You know, and listen, if we can't learn anything from art, why the hell are we creating it? You know, I mean, that's what it's there for. And it's only a small thing. I know it's just a painting. I know it's just one little image, but it drove all of you, and it has started something. It's kindled something, which wasn't kindled 5 years ago. We were talking about this, but we are now. I now know what you feel about this, Stacey. I love that. You know, and that's what art should be doing, is connecting us with those thoughts. And I think that's why I thank that painting.
Yeah.
And I think taking it down was far more important art statement than the actual paint on the canvas was. The paint on the canvas doesn't mean much to me, but the statement of the canvas. And I thank her for painting it, to have done that to me. I think that's what art does.
I just want to thank everybody for this, but I think we ought to donate this to Chiefwood and endow a lecture series. So that once a year, at least, there's some sort of conversation, not necessarily about painting. This would become sort of a lecture series.
We've got a comment here in the back and then in the front.
I just wanted to say,
really quickly, there's so many hands on me that I want you to know I see you. I think most of the time. So we get your comment, yours, and then Jason has a song he's written I think would be appropriate for us to hear.
I've been Sheila B's partner for 14 years. We've been together every minute of all those years, and I love it very much. It's a little hard hearing a little bit of what you guys are saying, but I appreciate it, and I'm open to it, and so is Sheila. The painting. Almost 3 years ago, she painted that painting. She brought it up to me in the living room, and she said, "What do you think?" The first thing I saw was the Confederate flag, and I went, "Ooh." Then I read it. Then I looked at it. Then I saw the whole piece. And in my, silly little mind, I thought, oh my God, the rednecks are going to hate it. This is so derogatory towards the rebel flag, towards the Confederate flag. And I thought, they're going to hate it. They're going to, throw paint on it or whatever. And it's the complete opposite. And it blows my mind that I was completely wrong. I really saw it as a derogatory piece towards the Confederate flag. When I saw it, the first thing I saw obviously was that flag. Sheila and I are gay. We get the meaning of discrimination, not as long as African American people of our country do, but when I see a rebel flag, a Confederate flag, when Sheila sees that flag, we cross the street. We cower. We let go of hands. As a matter of fact, we let go of hands all the time. I'm so jealous of people who can put their arms around each other in public because we can't. Not yet. So to think for 1 second that she is racist or doesn't understand, you're just completely, utterly wrong. But I appreciate everybody being here talking about her work. I love her to death. And she loves everybody. And my dad is right. The piece is about love. Because honestly, that's where she comes from. A place of love to everybody.
Didn't you get that? I don't think anyone in this room thinks Sheila B is a racist. I certainly don't. I can't
She
speak
was
for her.
called a racist. She was called a racist. Not this room. I'm just letting people know.
I don't think she would had her in the magazine. I don't think she's a racist, but I think the work is powerful, and I think the work had its place in history in that it has started a conversation in this town. And this town needed to start the conversation. And if it's that particular painting that starts it, I say, God bless Sheila B for doing it and for starting that conversation. Because we need to grow up and start talking about art and its relevance in our community. We need to grow up and stop nodding our head that everything is beautiful. And we need to address it. And that painting did that. Whatever we think of it as a piece of art,
Absolutely.
it did that. And I thank her for doing it.
And not censoring.
In my opinion, she's not a racist. I would never say that about Sheila B. I don't know her well enough to say that about her. I don't know that. But I know that that painting is important, and it's important, it's even bigger now, because it was taken down, and its importance is that it started the conversation. And we should keep that going.
She took it down.
We should keep that conversation going.
So I promise one more comment in the song, but let me just encourage everyone, since I know we're getting the time, this conversation doesn't end just because our time does. You're all connected in so many different ways, email, obviously Facebook, which started a lot of this, phone calls, and just people we see every day. So let's please continue these conversations. One comment comes.
I'll try to be really quick. I just wanted to bring up, well, I try to be objective in doing artwork, and so I when I looked at her piece, kind of pulled out, you know, the badass feminist, you know, with the lady, you know, with the bikini, bent over, you know, powerful pinup. But I've also seen Sonia Clark, Unraveled and Raveled, and I thought that was very powerful for her to do that performance and kind of parallel like how tough it is to take apart the flag and through the threading and, you know, the tension and all of that. And I thought that, so I guess my point is, I don't think that I don't think that the symbol should not be used. I think people should have the freedom to use whatever they want to use, because here we are, as more people have said here. But yeah, I wanted to originally pose a question, but we're out of time. And the question was, if Sonia Clark was a white woman and had done that piece, would we be talking about her like we're discussing the piece of Sheila B?
Discussion.